Hi, this is Cady Siegel. I am standing here with Paul Franceschi from the Boston area Gleaners. It turns out to be a gorgeous Saturday afternoon,
Yeah.
a little steamy hot, as we're still in the summer. And Paul is going to talk to you about what they're gleaning today. So thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, so I am Paul Franceschi. I'm the outreach coordinator at Boston Area Gleaners. For about 15 years, our goal has been just to facilitate the movement of food from farms to our communities. Um, and a lot of that is organizing these volunteer trips to local farms to glean their surplus crops. So right now we're out harvesting some kale. We just got a bunch of apples up at the orchard, and also going to get some beans.
That's awesome, Paul. So, about how many pounds do you usually glean, and do you know what you're gleaning before you get to the farm? How does that all work?
So typically we'll coordinate with the farmers. I should say that some background on gleaning for people who don't know what it is. Um, Typically, farms will have a lot of surplus produce because of either market saturation or unpredictable weather or all the uncertainties of farming. They'll end up planting a lot in their fields that they can't actually afford to harvest. So they'll call us, we'll bring a group out, we'll gather the surplus produce, and we'll distribute it to hunger relief agencies across the state.
Awesome.
As for here, we're going to get a couple bushels of kale. We got 2 large harvest bins of apples. Typically, we get a couple 100 pounds a week.
Wow. Okay. And then, talk to me a little bit about, you mentioned that it goes out to agencies, but how many agencies?
So we distribute directly to about 50 hunger relief agencies, food banks, food pantries, meal programs in Eastern Massachusetts. And through them, they'll distribute typically to other agencies. So our produce that we harvest will reach about 2,000 agencies in Eastern Massachusetts and New Hampshire and Rhode Island.
That's phenomenal. Oh, you go all the way down to
Mhm.
Rhode Island and north to New Hampshire.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great. And then I think everyone's wondering, with the challenging situation going on and the increased need, have you been overwhelmed? Have you had enough volunteers to help you guys out during this
Right.
time?
So, I mean, it's definitely been a critical time for food recovery. At the beginning of the pandemic, we needed to reassess our priorities. We reallocated a lot of our resources towards emergency food distribution. And pretty early on, we got a federal contract with the USDA to distribute pre-packed food boxes to a lot of the neighborhoods hit hardest by COVID. And then at the same time, our volunteer program, for a while, we had to reassess with public health priorities. We pushed back the start of that until August. But at the same time, we've had a lot of interest from volunteers pretty consistently. More than ever, I think people are really looking to get out and lend a hand in their communities. And now that we're reaching peak harvest season, we're able to have people out again finally, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And what's your gleaning season go to?
Our gleaning season typically goes until December. Sometimes we'll have a few. We both glean on the farms, and then we have volunteers out to process and repack the food. So we'll have trips even into January and February sometimes.
Wow, that's fantastic. And about how many millions of pounds? Do you know how many you have gleaned so far this year?
So far this year, I'm not sure of our gleaning total. I know that combined with all of the food that we've processed for emergency distribution, it's been about 2 million pounds that we've distributed in the Metro Boston, Eastern Massachusetts area. Annually before this, we were gleaning about 1 million pounds annually, consistently sort of increasing since our founding in 2004 with the help of our awesome partners and volunteers.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we are in such a gorgeous place. This is Westwood Orchard out in Harvard. So I'm just going to use the camera. I'm just going to do a 360 right now so you guys can all see the beautiful vegetables that we have and the incredible work that these volunteers are doing. Now, today is a gorgeous day, but people come out rain or shine. You have to glean when all the produce is ready. You can wait on that because you don't want to waste more on the field. And that is a gleaning truck right there that will take all of the filled banana boxes with pounds of food back to Waltham for distribution. I'm all tingles.
It's okay.
All right, Paul, so just to wrap up, what's your
Mhm.
favorite part about gleaning? Have you gotten your hands dirty today yet?
I have gotten my hands a little bit dirty. I've done a lot of the behind the scenes coordination with volunteers, so I'm not out every day. But I think everyone who works with us and all the volunteers who come out say that they just really like getting to know the food system in Eastern Massachusetts. We go to about 80 farms in the local area, and we'll meet the farmers. They'll tell us about their crops. We'll learn how things are harvested, and also just become aware of the sort of bounty that's around us, that's available. Um, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, the bounty is definitely around us. So thank you guys all for tuning in. Our last shot will just be going into this beautiful head of cabbage.
You can also mention the ride for food as well.
Yeah,
Sort
last
of,
pitch for the ride
yeah,
for food.
yeah.
Paul, come on.
All right. So the ride for food this year is going to be a big help for our fundraising. One thing in particular that I should say the money is going towards is this year we are waiving all of our pantry fees for everywhere that we distribute to. Typically that will cover the distribution costs and the logistics, but we're seeing how hard the strain is in all these organizations that are trying to address food security in their communities. So right now we're trying to raise about $40,000 to offset that cost. And through the Ride for Food, we're hoping to get about 10,000 by October. So if you want to go to our website, bostonareagleaners.org, you can learn more about how you can join our team and fundraise for us.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Paul, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
everyone
you
for tuning in. There's always a need for volunteers. So if you love the outdoors and want to get your hands dirty and do some wonderful work, I highly recommend. Take care.